Counting the
cost of being a packaging engineer.
wow, Brian, why did you become a packaging engineer?
So yeah, it's a good question. It's a very interesting field to pursue. Actually, when I went to university at Michigan State University, I started as pre-medical, and I wanted to, either be a doctor or be a physician assistant. But actually, as time went on, as I was taking more and more classes, um, I started to kind of question whether I wanted to be a doctor. And that first started when I took organic chemistry. I was like, man, this class, this class is hard. And I pulled so many all-nighters for that. I think that's the worst grade I got in college. It was like a 2.5. Um, so that was the one class that made me like kind of question. I was like, okay, well, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to put all this, you know, um, like this blood, sweat, and tears into something just to make money, right? Because at the time, I was just thinking about money. Uh, so as time went on, like I went to higher level classes, like 400 level physio and microbiology, and my GPA was actually good at the time, but it was just so much, and like no free time, just constantly studying. And then I was also thinking, like, do I really want to work in a hospital for the rest of my life? Do I want to go through residency, medical school, all this stuff, and live the life that a doctor lives? So at that point, I was seriously considering other career choices, just simply because, like, do I want this lifestyle? Um, so I actually happened to come across the major called packaging from my friend who's also pre-medical who happened to switch. And it actually worked out perfect because I was a junior, right? I was in those high level classes for physiology and for microbiology. And then I came across packaging, and I realized that there was a lot of overlap between the two majors, like chemistry, biology, microbio, organic chemistry, all these stuff transferred over to packaging engineering because it's a pretty technical major. So, um, and then I learned more about it, and I realized, oh, it's pretty cool. You get to design a lot of the products that are out there, and the products that people know and love, and their touch and feel every day. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. There's a lot that you can do with this. Uh, and so I ended up making the switch over to packaging, and yeah, ever since then I've stuck with it. I'm a packaging engineer now.
So, why did you become want to become a doctor in the first place?
I mean, as like growing up as a Korean American, like that's all you think about, like doctor, dentist, lawyer, like be rich. You gotta make money. So I was like, okay, well, I'll be a doctor. The more and more I realize what goes into being a doctor and having a lot of friends who are in residency or going through medical school and all that stuff, I realize the lifestyle sucks. Like I have a friend who's I mean, not to knock any doctors. It's awesome what they do. I think people should only be a doctor if you truly have a passion for it,
Uh-huh.
and you fulfill your purpose, through being a doctor. But if it's simply, like a lot of these young Asian kids, they're like, oh, like I don't know any other fields. Like, they don't realize the wealth of opportunities that are out there that you can also make good money. They're just like, oh, doctor, 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 doctor. That's what my parents told me. I'm gonna be a doctor. It's not worth it at all because even my friend who's just going through the doctorate of nurse practitioner right now in Columbia University, he was like, "Oh, Brian, like I'm busy all the time. Life is so hard. The patients are always complaining. I have no free time. I can't even go to church." Like he's also a Christian, but he doesn't even go to church anymore because he's like so busy. And I'm like, "Phew, like I'm gonna pray for you, but I'm glad I'm in that program. I'm glad I did." So honestly, yeah, that's originally the reason why I went into pre-medical, and I don't think I had the right, motivation for it.
I see. So, how did the pressure came other than your friends or your parents? Like, did your parents specifically told you to become a doctor, or was it more of your parents, friends, and everybody's a doctor kind of thing?
Yeah, it's just like that's what every Korean kid does, they go pre-medical. Like my parents never told me to be a doctor. They never told me to, um, you know, go the science route. They're just like my dad was pretty much like, just make sure you make money, and as long as you make money, I'm happy. He never tried to force me. He wasn't like the typical Korean,
Okay.
parents, because a lot of them do push their kids a lot, and I feel bad for them because they get pushed into something that they don't want to do. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, when I went to Andrews, I noticed more than half of the Korean American students were studying to be doctors or dentists, so I was very surprised.
that's all they know. All they know, I'm telling you, man, they don't know what's out there. It's like, I'm just gonna be a doctor. Let me work 80 hours a week or 80 hours a week. A lot of
Wow.
them, I think some of them may have the right motives and they do it because they want to help people,
Uh huh.
and they feel like they're fulfilling their purpose. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of people that simply like that's the only route that they know. So they're kind of like pigeonholed into that and be like, oh, I have to succeed, I have to make it, I have to, you know, bring honor
Mm.
to the family.
So for you, as you were taking classes, as you were thinking about what it actually takes, you didn't feel that it was going to work for you.
Yeah, and honestly, if I'm completely honest, like part of it was just like me being lazy,
Okay.
like not wanting to go through medical school, 4 years of just like constant study, rotations, clinicals, um, things like that. I was like, do I really want to do this? And then, 5 years of residency or 3 to 5 years of residency, working 80 hours a week until, I just really started thinking about the whole path, and I was like, I want to be able to live my life at the same time. Um, yeah,
I see. It was just too much to go through, even though the exterior promising income
the
sounded
income.
sounded great, but just so much that was going to go into that career.
There's just so much work. So yeah, I know it doesn't sound good, but it was partly just me being kind of lazy and um, wanting to just take like a more traditional route. Get a bachelor's in a field that can actually, like I can land a job at a good company, rather than working in the medical system. So yeah.
I see. So you said you are designing things that people can touch and use, very practical. So what are the things that you actually design? Can you tell us?
Yeah, so actually, the way our job works at Unilever, my company, it's a consumer goods company. They actually own Korean beauty brands as well. Like they're constantly purchasing more and more brands. I support the Dove skincare brand. I'm sure you guys know like the Dove soap,
Uh,
but they have like skin cleansing, they have deodorant, they have shampoo, conditioner, they have skincare products as well. So I work on that brand. And actually, a lot of what we do is we actually work with stock packaging suppliers, and some of them are like kind of off the shelf, but we kind of customize them a bit. We have to do um, work to develop like new colors for them to customize it to the brand. A big part of it is sustainability, like incorporating as much recycled content as possible, making sure it's recyclable, making sure everything is green, making sure everything is like kind of applicable to like the market standards as well, and make sure that there's no negative interactions between the product and the packaging. Make sure that the functional performance is good, so that the product is not compromised throughout the distribution environment. So I work with a lot of stock suppliers. Sometimes you do custom, shapes like to the brand, like brand new designs, but it's not as common because that's expensive and it takes a lot of time. So a lot of time and a lot of money. So that's something that's not as common. Maybe like once every 5-10 years we'll do like a new design for like the core packaging, like bottle shape or whatever it might be.
I see. So you've done designing for bottles?
Yeah, bottles, tubes, jars, flexible materials, sachets, and then the outer cases that they go into and things like that. That's kind of what encompasses, the whole packaging engineering, um, I guess like work stream. That and also like the palletization as it goes into like the distribution environment.
So when you talk about packaging, it is the way they package the product so it can be shipped to customers in a certain uh, format. Is that
Hmm.
the packaging that happens in the factory or the packaging that is done as they deliver things?
So both. Yeah, like obviously the factories, we work with suppliers that provide these packs, right? They make them for us, so we work with them to develop the packaging, and then of course they ship it to the factory where it's filled, where it's capped, where the pumps or the caps or whatever are applied, and then they put them into the boxes, right? And then put them into a pallet pattern and they ship it across. Um, we work with that, and then also part of it is like you want to optimize the the pack, because obviously if you think, like, let's say you have 3 extra grams of plastic in a bottle and you multiply that by hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of units, that's a lot of extra plastic that you're putting into the environment, and negative environmental impact and extra cost. So part of it is like cost savings, right? Taking out what we can and optimizing the design so that um, it's strong enough to withhold the hazards of the environment, but not too strong, because if it's too strong, that means you're throwing money away, right? But if it's too weak, then there might be product damage, and then there's loss to the company that way. There's products that are lost. Consumer complaints, brand reputation could be damaged. A lot of different implications. So it's making sure everything is really just right and optimized. Yeah.
So do you know what happens to excessive amount of plastic bags? Are they end up being in the ocean?
Sometimes they may find their way to the ocean, depending on where you live, or the markets that you live in. I know Southeast Asia, a lot of plastic kind of just gets dumped into the ocean. Like I think Southeast Asia, maybe that's like one of the biggest sources of like plastic waste into the ocean. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so we're trying to prevent that by making sure everything is recyclable. And our company also works with recycling. Well, they work with like different governments and countries to establish or create recycling infrastructure so that they're able to take the waste and convert it into new packaging or new products for consumers. So that's the big that's like the big goal, is to create a circular economy, meaning we provide the packaging, right? It goes to the consumer. At the end of life, the consumer recycles it, and then we buy back that plastic resin, right? Because they grind it back up, they reprocess it, and then they create the plastic pellets for us. And then we take those again with the bottle suppliers or whatever, and then make those again into new bottles. So we're trying to create that circular economy. So plastic itself is not really that bad. It's just that plastic has its place because it's cheap, it's lightweight, it's good functional properties, but it's just using plastic in the right way and making sure it's captured back into um, the recycling stream to be reused. Our problem right now is there's too much virgin plastic, right? New plastic that keeps on getting produced. It goes to landfill or it goes into the oceans, and it's causing detriment to our environment.
Wow. So when you said you make sure all your products are being recyclable, so plastic can be uh, melted or chemically transferred to a different form so that they can use it again. Is that possible?
Yeah, exactly. So um, the most common type of recycling is mechanical recycling. So, when the recycling facilities, they take the bottles, right? They clean them, they wash them, they grind them, right?
Oh.
And then, of course, you got to separate different types of plastic. So that's why, like, there's a certain stream for like PET plastic versus HDPE plastic. That's why you separate the glass, you separate the plastic, you separate the paper. because in order for something to be recyclable, you need to be able to separate it into a certain stream. They can't be all contaminated, otherwise, like you can't do anything with it. So you segregate it into a certain stream, and then they wash it, they grind it up, they'll melt it down again into plastic pellets. And the pellets are what the bottle suppliers, right? Sorry, it's like a lot of technical stuff, but the bottle suppliers, they take that again and they melt that down, they extrude it, and they create bottles, caps, tubes, things of that nature.
So pellets are small particles of plastic?
Yeah, it's like little specks, like little pebbles, tiny little pebbles of plastic. Like
Oh.
that's how you get it directly from the plastic manufacturers, and then you take that and you use that in the bottle making or cap making or tube extruding machinery.
Wow, I didn't know that. It's like turning flour into bread.
Yeah, yeah, kind of like that. That's a good analogy. Yeah, so it's like trying to take that end of like bread, make it back into flour, and then make it back into bread. And
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that would be possible. I thought all of them should be thrown away somewhere. I didn't know they can be actually recyclable, literally.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's what they do, and there's a different form of recycling too. I mean, I don't want to like get too technical or bore you with the details, but there's another form called chemical recycling, and that's pretty much creating like taking waste plastic and like melting it down into type of an oil, and then making like pure virgin grade plastic again. So that's like you're getting the full functional properties of fresh virgin plastic again with chemical recycling. Whereas with mechanical recycling, you lose some of the functional properties because, the more and more you use it, it becomes weaker, comes brittler. The quality is not as good. So
Oh.
there's like a limit to how much you can recycle it. But for chemically
Oh.
recycled plastics, you can kind of like, it's almost like an infinite loop.
Oh, I didn't know that. So,
Yeah.
as an engineer, you factor all those things into your work.
So that's something more of like what the recycling facilities um, and the reprocessing facilities like they do that. That's just something we're aware of because we just work within this whole ecosystem of plastics and different plastic suppliers. But yeah, we need to take into account like recycling, what recycling necessities are, and design for recycling.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that way, yeah, if we design for recycling, we've done our part, and then we need, obviously, the consumers need to recycle it, to
Uh-huh.
capture it back into the recycling stream for us to be able to use again. But the packs have to be recyclable to begin with.
Oh, I see.
Otherwise, it's just going to end up in landfill and into, in trash, goes to landfill or goes to the oceans.
So where does the pressure come from? Is it more of a moral sense of responsibility of a company, or is it are you going to be punished if you don't, or is it better for your advertisement in the way you portray your public image of your company? Where does the pressure come from?
Yeah, I think there's an element of all three of that. Obviously, yeah. So sometimes it's like a top-down pressure from governments or from NGOs, non-governmental organizations, that are like mandating and they're like putting pressure on companies like Unilever, Procter and Gamble, Johnson and Johnson, L'Oreal to be sustainable um, and to make sure everything's recyclable or recycled. And they try to make us look bad, right? So obviously, it's like, okay, well, we got to conform to that. Sometimes there's punitive measures against plastic manufacturers like us who put these products out into the world. Um, like if we don't make it recyclable or if there's not recycled content in bottles, then in Europe, in different areas, they're starting to charge taxes on virgin plastic based on like the amount of tons of virgin plastic we're putting out there. Like we can be taxed on that, and that money just goes to the government. So obviously, we don't want to take on that cost. So we're trying to make things, recyclable and sustainable. Um, but then at the same time, we want to look good while doing it too. So it's like, oh yeah, like we're doing a good thing for the company. I think there's different motivations too, because it's good for PR as well. Makes the company look good. Obviously, we want to be like a socially responsible company, and also we don't want to get our hand or our wrist slapped by the government. So
Oh, I see. Actually, it's very fascinating because I've interviewed a lot of people on their job experiences, but I think it's my first time getting into real details about technical things, and it sounds very fascinating.
yeah, it's pretty interesting once you dive into it. There's a lot more in the world of packaging than people really expect, or it's not things that they think about.
Wow, it's amazing. So,
Yeah.
why did you go to the company out of all the other companies?
Well, honestly, I have to thank God for getting me a job at that company because um, Unilever is one of the top companies to work for in the packaging industry, and when it was like my dream company, right? I always wanted to get an internship there. I couldn't. I didn't get an internship there. I applied, but they never gave me one. And when I graduated college, it's like I had a very high GPA, and I had two internship experiences, and I was like, it should be easy for me to get a job, right? But I went on so many interviews. I applied to like probably over 100 companies, went on multiple interviews, even made it to some second round interviews, I think. Uh, I remember when I went to the first career fair, I got 7 interviews at the career fair, I believe, and I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy! I'm probably going to get a job from this." But none of them gave me the offer.
Wow.
So, again, so many interviews, no offers. I interviewed for some of the crappiest companies too, and they didn't even give me an offer. I'm like, dude, what is wrong with this? Like, these are companies I didn't even want to work for. Companies and industries I didn't even care about. I interviewed for this one company that does like windows and doors, and like that's not where you want to be for packaging engineering. Typically, you want to work for like the consumer goods. You want to work for skincare or like makeup or cosmetics or food packaging, things like that, things that people interact with every day. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm not gonna get, am I gonna end up at some terrible job? Uh, but the way I got this job honestly was like a miracle. I feel like, I feel like God really opened the doors for me to work here. And I remember I got on I applied for this one role, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, you're not a good fit for this role. Like, they don't want, like, they're not looking for someone with your background here. They want someone with more experience. But we'll keep you in mind, and then we'll call you back if we have other candidates." Because it was like a contractor agency, and I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Yeah." I gave him my information. I was like, "Yeah, call me back if you have any opportunities." And then he calls me up. Hey, they're looking for someone. There's a job opening at Unilever. I was like, Unilever? It's like, no way, Unilever? It's like my dream company. I didn't think I'd ever end up at the company that I would. But pretty much the hiring manager, he interviewed me, I think, on a phone interview. I think it was like a Thursday. And then I can't remember the details exactly of what happened. But he's like, yeah, we'll get back to you within like, by Monday or something like that. And And so I was like, okay, time to wait. I felt like I'm probably not going to get it, but I prayed about it. I was asking God, like, please help me to get this job. It's been like 3, 4 months, I think, when I was interviewing. I even drove out 9 hours to a place to interview because they wouldn't fly me out. So I drove out. They didn't give me the job.
Wow.
So, anyways, Unilever called me, and then actually the next day, I believe it was the next day. I have to go back. I wrote the whole experience out, but they came back to me and they offered me the job like right there after one phone interview, which almost like never happens because usually there's like a second round interview or a third round interview, and or they want to talk to you in person. But after one phone interview, they just offered me the job. I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, that's incredible. I was like, thank you, God. Thank you so much. Because that just doesn't happen. And, you know, and I think, all the other bad companies that I interviewed for, if they gave me an offer, I probably would have taken it out of desperation. But God shut all those doors and He opened the door for this company. And I know now why He brought me to this company because He had plans for me there. He really did. So I see how He opened up the doors and I see how He was working. Um, through this kind of like tough experience for me.
Wow, it's great that you can see this as a as as some sort of providence, not a random acts of chaos. That
Yeah,
you can
I
be
don't think it was random.
grateful for. So, I'll ask you more about how you know that this was a place where God led you later on. But I want to ask you first about how long it took for you to land on a job. It sounded like your job searching took some time.
Yeah, yeah. So I graduated in December. I think I went to a career fair. Like ideally, you go to a career fair during your last semester of school, you land a job, so like you have something lined up for you right upon graduation. But I wasn't able to get anything. So I graduated in December, right, of 2017. And then I go to a career fair January 28th. That's when I think it was January 28th. That's when I got like seven different interviews. And I didn't get any one of them. Uh, so I kept applying online over and over, just constantly sending in applications, going on interviews, things like that, staying at home with my parents. Went straight back to my parents' house, and that's like exactly what you don't want to do. You feel failure. You're like, oh my goodness, where is my life going to take me? Am I just gonna be another, part of the boomerang generation? The boomerang generation. The parents throw them
They
out,
throw it, they come back.
they come right back. It's like the parents' basement. It's like, I'm on up, I'm back. I'm here. Please feed me. So yeah, I was part of that boomerang, man, for like I think 4 months or so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was 4 months, and I think I landed the job in April. Might have been April, and it was awesome too because not only was I able to land a job at the company I wanted, the salary was good, and I also had a vacation that I had planned before. It was like a 2 week vacation. They're like, oh yeah, you can go on that vacation. Like we really need people right now, but you can go on that vacation and come to us after that. And on top of that, I asked for more money. I was like, hey, can I get, you gotta negotiate the salary. I was like, hey, can I get like $2,580 more? You know, I read online you gotta say like an exact number. So like I asked for like an exact number. I was like, okay, this is what the market is asking for. Like, can I get this? They just gave me 5,000 more. They're like, okay, yeah.
Oh,
They went above. They went
oh,
above.
I see.
Wow. I was like, God, you are so good. Thank you so much.
So,
It was amazing.
so that was your dream company, and they gave you the vacation at a time that you really wanted, and they also gave you a salary raise beyond what you asked for.
Beyond what I asked for. I had my dream company. I was like, I couldn't even take any credit for myself. I was like, it's all God. Thank you so much. I was praying a lot. I really needed some direction, and yeah, again, he had a plan there. I know for sure.
Wow, that's awesome. So,
Hmm.
when do people normally start searching for the job? You said graduation was December, and most people would already have a job guarantee before they graduate. So, how
Hmm.
long do they usually start searching before the graduation?
I mean, sometimes there's career fairs. People will be applying during their last semester of school,
Oh, I
or
see.
they'll go to a career. Yeah, like so. There was a career fair in I think like September. Again, I graduated December. Career fair in September. So like typically you can land a job and then go to work right after graduation. Yeah.
I see. So,
Hmm.
career fair is a place where companies promote their job openings, and students come and they apply and they interview, and the interview happened right there.
Yeah. So like there's like this giant fair. All these companies are set up in like the basketball. Um, there's like the basketball stadium. They're all
Oh,
set up, and you kind of go around. You talk to all of them. And if they like you, they're like, okay, well, we'll schedule an interview with you. And yeah, if they like you, then you can come back and meet at a separate location for interviews. It could be like a week long thing for them. Like recruiters would be there and they'll just be like, interviewing a bunch of different people. And hopefully they're able to fill the spots, fresh with college grads.
oh, I see. And did you say earlier that they had an opening for a role that you weren't completely qualified for, and Is that how it worked?
Um, well, no. So that was when I was sending out applications online.
Uh huh.
Yeah, yeah, and then like doing phone interviews and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was during the phone interviews, not for that company, not for your current company.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, not for the current company. I mean, again, like I said, there's one also another company that I had to drive all the way to New Jersey. They did phone. I think they did a phone interview. They liked me. They're like, okay, come to our company in New Jersey,
Nine
and
hours.
yeah, it was like 8 9 hours. I was like, you know what? Even though they're not paying for it, I got friends out there, so let me just visit them. And it was a company I also really want to work for. It's a top medical device company, and they didn't give me. They're like, oh, sorry, I don't think you're a good fit. But it's like it's funny too because after okay, so I interviewed for this company later. I got the job offer with my current company. I went to my vacation, and then I think when I flew back, I was in the airport. The medical device company called me up and they're like, "Hey, are you still looking for a job? We have a position open for you." And I was like, I thought you said you don't want me. And you know, you want me right now? No, I'm just kidding. But I was like, oh really? There's a position open. They're like, yeah, yeah. They want you to come work for us now. So I had to choose between these two companies I really want to work for. But I went with
You already had the job secure from the Unilever.
yeah, I already had the job secured,
Uh,
and then this other company called me, and I had to choose between the two. But Unilever was it was at first a contract position, so it was 9 months as opposed to this one was 6 months, and Unilever also paid me more. I was like, I'm sorry, I mean money talk, money talk, like you gotta
more,
yeah. So
more money, longer contract.
yeah, exactly. Like it just made sense to stick with Unilever. So um, yeah, it was crazy, man, because it's like I was in a drought, nothing, and then boom, all of a sudden, things happen. So
Wow. So,
yeah,
how do you like working with people there, with your department, with your boss, with the whole philosophy and system and all these things?
it's good. It's good. It's a really inclusive um, company. I mean, they're very like yeah progressive on the progressive side, but with that comes a lot of inclusion. Um, like they value their employees. They treat them really well. Um, good benefits. And the company culture is fantastic because people are just nice at the company.
Wow.
Whereas I've heard at other companies, not so much. It's kind of
Mm.
cutthroat. But Unilever, the people are really awesome. The team dynamic is great. I've been able to build a lot of valuable relationships, not just within my team, but within the company overall.
Wow. I mean, your job requires creativity and teamwork and ingenuity, all these things. And when I was working for schools, I felt like teachers weren't really expected to be creative because every time I wanted to be creative, I was just hammered out with all the criticism and all these things. And it sounds
Oh,
like your company is not like that. They value your input and they want you to be brave sometimes to adopt something new.
yeah, yeah. No, I think they encourage creativity. They encourage trying new things, and if it fails, they're like, if you fail fast and learn from it, so you can continue, and iterate to build something better.
Mm.
Overall, as a project team, not just as a packaging engineer, but like as a project team, because I'm working with like supply chain folks, formulation scientists, with the marketing team. We all meet together for multiple projects, like every single week. Sometimes, multiple meetings throughout the week for certain projects. So. Um, yeah. There's a lot of creativity that's inspired.
You know, in Korea, there is a hierarchy, and I hear a lot of stories about how doctoral students are working like dogs, and professors take all the credits, and the students get mad, and the professors think it's not a big deal. It's been done that way for so many years, and what's the big deal? And when uh, smaller companies are supplying something for Samsung smartphones or something, and the Samsung comes and steals the technology and say, "Oh, we didn't steal from you. We came up with it." And then whoever provided the idea end up being just with nothing, and then Samsung is making all this money, and the smaller companies are just being just losing all the money. So do you see the transparent and fairness and all these things in place in your company the way it works? Because sometimes you get jealous, you get competitive, and oh, he's taking all the credit. I shouldn't share this idea with him. It's because he's gonna steal it from me. Because you're dealing with something, some sort of creativity. Do you see that? Do you see some? Do you see? Do you feel comfortable work using your creativity in a way that is not threatening to anybody?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think overall, I mean, obviously at the end, Unilever takes the credit, right? Because it's the company, we're all employed by them. So like um, whatever things that are developed, it's their intellectual property, right? But within the company, there's definitely a lot of encouraging. There's a lot of uplifting. There's a lot of shouting out for other people, like oh, great job to this person and to this team or whatever. Like credit is given to people, and I think it's not, for the most part, the culture is um, uplifting and building up, rather than people trying to steal credit for themselves. And I think just in general for management, like I think that's a good principle. I feel like that's like a Christian principle as well. Um, like good leaders, they will praise their team and give credit to the team when things go well, and when things go bad, they take the blame. Like I feel like that's the traits of a good leader, right? Rather than just like throwing people under the bus, like that kind of stuff doesn't get far very long, and you burn bridges and you burn relationships that way. So yeah, there's a lot of good principles and a lot of good culture and environment, and teamwork at Unilever.
Actually, a lot of bad leaders do the exact opposite.
Bad leaders, you said?
Yeah, a lot of bad leaders do the complete opposite. They don't want to take the blame for anything that is going bad, and they want to steal your credit if anything goes well.
Exactly. I don't think people like that get very far, and they kill their relationships too. So in the end, like people are your greatest assets, and if you treat them bad, there's going to be a turnover. People are going to leave to other companies. People are going to talk trash about the company. Like, um, yeah, it's not a good policy. You got to give credit where credit is due. You know.
Oh, that's awesome. Because a lot of times I worked really hard, and sometimes I didn't feel appreciated, and I just lost momentum. I just lost all motivation, and I was just so determined to start my own.
Oh,
I'm so much happier now.
that's good. That's good. I'm glad, man. I mean, that's not a good situation to be in, and yeah, and you can't retain people that way. It's good that you started your own thing, and yeah, that must be very demoralizing. You know.
Yeah, it was very traumatic actually.
Oh, well, at the school.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, oh man.
But it's all good. I'm very thankful to that person because that person really caused me to leave. So
No, that's what I'm saying. That's a good thing. Sometimes like it's the impetus that you need to get out of your situation.
yeah,
So yeah. Now, dude, look at you, man. You got your classroom working, an ideal work week,
yeah,
and people come to you. You don't got to go to them.
yeah. I love the work life balance and my life and my fulfillment I get from my work, and I feel like I'm becoming a better person as I interact with my students. I feel like they're being empowered with all the things that I give them, and they look very
That's
happy, learning, making a progress.
that's good. That's good. Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
what made them want you so badly that they just gave you a job over the phone?
I think part of it was they really needed people, right? I mean, they hired like four people at the same time, all contract positions. So, they were only like 9 months at first. So I think that's part of it. They needed someone to do testing in the lab, and I had experience from a previous internship with that. So it was kind of like um, perfect overlap, perfect experience. So I think that's part of the reason. And yeah, I think that's one of the big reasons. They needed people.
And you prove yourself for 9 months, and you you're staying there.
Yeah, yeah. It was interesting how I was able to kind of like move up, but I started in the lab, then 3 months passed, and a vacancy in the team opened up for like the project management role for the Dove brand, which is like the cash cow for Unilever. Dove is one of the biggest brands, and they're like, hey, you've been working hard in the lab. There's an opportunity for you. Would you like to take it? But it's gonna be more work. It's gonna be like more stressful. Do that first month. I took the role. Obviously, I didn't want to say no, and it was like a good way to kind of get more permanence. But that first month, man, I felt like all my hair was gonna fall out. I felt like there was so much stress. My heart was just like beating fast. I was like, oh, so many emails, so much stuff to deal with. I was so stressed, but it worked out, and yeah. So I transitioned to that, and then I think they offered me full time, like 8 months, 7 or 8 months in.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
yeah.
So what is most rewarding about your job experience at the moment?
I think being able to see a product launch, and see your work, the finished work that you've done. You can see it on store shelves. Well, I can't. A lot of the products I work on are launching in Europe, but yeah, I was able to see the product, see pictures of it on the shelves, and also just the teamwork. Being able to work with people to create something. Um, yeah, it's really valuable experience.
I see.
So yeah, I really appreciate the people and the team.
Mm. Wow, because many people love their job, but they hate the people they work with, and they end up feeling miserable. But sounds like you're enjoying your relationship with their coworkers.
Well, it has a lot of people that you interviewed. They kind of feel that way.
I think it's more of my students, adult students.
Oh, the adult students, they hate their job.
I mean, they love
Yeah,
their job, but they have a hard time uh, enjoying their relationship with their coworkers.
yeah. I hear working for Korean companies is pretty tough.
Yeah,
Working for Koreans
yeah,
is
yeah,
tough.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
All the Koreans that I know that have worked for Korean companies,
yeah.
they're like, work for white people. Don't work for Koreans. Do
even in
not work.
even in America.
Even in America, man, because like that company culture, the hierarchical culture, where it's like the 사장님, what is it,
Yeah, yeah,
사장님?
yeah. 사장님, yeah, yeah.
He's like God. He's like God, pretty much in the organization. You have to bow down to him. You guys, like when the manager is, like for the manager, I've heard the company culture is like, if the manager is still there, your manager, you can't leave until he leaves.
Exactly, exactly.
Even if your work is done,
Yeah.
you just gotta like, it's like, when are you gonna leave? And then I've heard, the Koreans, they come to me, they're like, what they say? They're like, oh, this is what my boss says. He's like, oh, 집에 가, 괜찮아. 집에 가. 너무, 너무, I can't speak Korean. It's like, 열심히 일했어.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, okay. But you can't leave because they're expecting you to stay. They just say it to
Oh,
be
yeah, yeah,
nice.
yeah. That's true. That's true.
So it's like all fake. It's fake.
Yeah, I think
So
I think gangster culture and military culture and Confucianism all got mixed together, and then that's what makes a Korean work culture.
yeah, man. Yeah, it's tough. I feel for my Korean friends who are working in Korea and working for a Korean company in America. Yeah. Not just Korean. I think it's Japanese, Chinese, like just Asian in general.
Oh, I see.
I think it's Asian. Yeah.
They use you. They don't empower you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like top down, like
Yeah.
mandates.
Yeah.
Um, it's like, there's a lot of gatekeeping. Like the people at the top needs to make the decisions. The regular people, they don't trust us to make the decisions, right? In the
Yeah.
Asian companies.
Yeah.
So um, sometimes that process kind of slows down the speed of projects and things like that. I mean, not to talk trash about Korea, but yeah, the culture for working is definitely not good.
Yeah, maintaining good relationships is very important and it really boosts your morale and really motivates you to work harder. But the thing is, if they are constantly suspicious of you, you don't want to work for them anymore.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like you've gotta empower people to make decisions and fail, and
Exactly.
if they fail, they learn from that.
Yeah.
And actually, micromanaging also is not a it's not a good. It's stressful for you. You gotta waste like if you're a boss, you gotta waste so much more time like being like an eagle, like with a hawk eye, just like watching over every move that they make.
Uh-huh.
And then the downline or like the subordinate, they're super stressed out because like, oh, am I doing everything correctly? So it adds stress and it adds time, and it's not efficient. It's not
Mm.
productive.
Wow.
Yeah,
I see. Yeah, micromanaging really, really is overbearing and it's very oppressive.
it's oppressive, and I've worked for a boss that is kind of like micromanaging, and it's a bit stressful.
Oh,
You know,
it's very difficult.
it's stressful, but
Mm. Is there anything else that you uh wanna talk about your work that you really enjoy doing?
I think one of the things that I enjoy the most about my work is, and again, part of the reason I think God opened the doors for me to come to this company is he's opened up a lot of witnessing opportunities because obviously my faith is probably the most important thing to me, like number one thing in my life, and my purpose is being able to share that with other people. And I found a lot of opportunities in work, just meeting people, building relationships, gaining their trust, having genuine relationships with these people, and being able to share with them, help with them in times of need. Like one of my coworkers, he was going through a breakup with his girlfriend of 9 years, and he came to me. Like I prayed with him. I was able to share words of encouragement with him. There's another coworker who had like a miscarriage, and she was out of work for like 30 days because she was so stressed out. And I got to spend a lot of time with her. Got to talk with her. Um, Security guards, even that I've been able to build really meaningful relationships with, and just encourage them. And also, I think the coolest thing that I think is what I think is the coolest is, by God's grace, I was able to start a Bible study at my office with the help of a couple other Christian coworkers, and it's been going on for like 2 years. Every single
Wow.
week
Wow.
we get together.
That's great. So your company
Yeah,
doesn't discourage you from doing it. They let you do it and they see it as something positive.
yeah, yeah. I don't even know if they know we're doing it, but
Okay.
it's just something we do, because it's on our lunch time. It's
Okay.
like we're able to do whatever we want to do. Like as long as the work gets done. That's kind of the culture of the company. It's like we don't care what you do, just get the work done. We're not keeping track of your hours or things like that.
Wow.
Again, it's complete empowerment. It's an amazing company culture, you know, which is why I've stayed. Other people sometimes jump within like 1 year, 2 years. But because of that, it's like we manage our time. Obviously, we have to go to the meetings, but we manage our time, and we're able to do these Bible studies every week, and it's been a huge blessing. And actually, with some of the Bible study group members, like one of them has a boat, and he'll be taking us out on the ocean like week on Friday. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's good, and I get to kind of live out my purpose uh, at work.
Wow, that's really wonderful because when I was involved with organizing a church event, I got caught by my boss when I was working for school, and he was actually
Oh,
very angry. He's like, "You're not focused." But I was working hard, but it was kind of like my break time or something. I wasn't really doing it too much, just a few minutes.
uh,
And so that's why I was wondering, because in Korea, if you do stuff like that, in the work setting, even if it's a lunchtime, the word will spread like a wildfire, and everybody would know what you're doing. And then anytime when they want to use it against you, they will use it against you, and you will feel pressured to stop, or you will be scared even to try it. So I was wondering how your company people would feel, but it sounds like they don't micromanage, they don't watch you to use anything that you do against you.
Yeah. Wow. Dude, that sounds so toxic, man. Like that does not work in relationships either. Like if you're, you
No.
know, girlfriend or wife or whatever, like just keeping track of every little thing and using it as ammunition,
Yeah.
that's one way to destroy relationships. Like you're not gonna have a good relationship with your boss or with your, you know, subordinates if you know if this kind of dynamic happens. Like
Yeah.
I feel so bad for people who are stuck in that kind of company culture, and I can see why a lot of people want to escape
Exactly.
corporate slavery. You know,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's slavery. It's like they're the taskmaster. They're like whipping you. Like you better work. You know, don't do anything else. They're just like just keeping an eye on you. You make one deviation, they just whip you.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Wow. Wow, thank you for sharing your story of hope that not many people might not be enjoying. And I think it's because they have never received it and they don't know how to give it to other people. So I think it's very important to start being very
Right.
generous and being selfless.
That's true. Yeah, somebody has to break the cycle for sure. I mean, I'm lucky to be in a company where it's already so positive and uplifting and encouraging. But um, yeah, definitely, it's like it's kind of like I hear from like Kunde, right? Like you go
Yeah,
and you get
yeah.
treated badly by you know the higher up. So when you get there, you're like, well, you know what? I've earned my place. On to
Exactly.
these little fresh, yeah,
Yeah.
kids, and then they just like treat them like trash because
Yeah,
they
yeah.
feel like it's their right. I
Yeah.
hear that also in the medical field too.
Oh, really?
I've heard that in the medical field,
That's
like
true.
doctors,
That's true.
because you know they went through it all. Like they're mean to the residents too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did you do anything right? You know, like just rude things like that. I'm like, man, I can't believe people are saying that kind of stuff. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I think life can be more a lot better if you do the complete opposite.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess that's why it's like, yeah, somebody has to break that cycle. Somebody has to be that light,
Uh-huh.
you know, in the workplace where everything's just like so dark.
Yeah.
And
Life is
yeah,
hard. We can give somebody hope.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Brian, for the time that you invested in this for this channel. I'm pretty sure a lot
Hmm.
of people will be encouraged hearing your stories and become somebody better in their workplace.
Oh yeah, I'll be happy if even one person's encouraged from this. So yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to share.
Yeah. Do you think I can interview in a few years later again
Yeah,
to see
sure.
what's
Who
going
knows where
on?
I'll be in a few years? But yeah, maybe in person. I'm thinking about coming to Korea again. I don't know. Maybe next year I want to go to
Oh,
Korea.
really?
But
Okay, I'll be here.
I, are you still near like
Yeah,
the Taedong
yeah, yeah,
area,
yeah.
right next to the university?
Yeah, I'm 25-minute walking distance from there.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Yeah, if
Yeah,
I come to Korea, I'll have to stop by again the international
sure,
church.
sure.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah,
Good to catch
awesome.
up with you in a while.
Yeah, good to catch up. It's been like 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you have a good night and have a good week.
Thank you, man. Yeah, have a good day. Have a good week as well. I guess your work week is starting now, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Bye, Brian.
All right. See you, Joa.
Yeah. See you.
Talk later. Yep. Bye.
Bye bye.